It was a rainy evening when everything began, an evening that would change my life in ways I could never have predicted. My name is Aisha, and I had always believed that life was meant to be simple, safe, and predictable. But on that night, the world I thought I knew would slip away like water between my fingers. I lived in a small but warm home tucked into the heart of the city. The storm outside was merciless, thunder rattling the windows as if someone were knocking to come in. I had just finished making tea, the smell of cardamom filling the kitchen, when I heard a sound at the door. At first, I thought it was the storm again, but then came a faint voice. "Hello? Is anyone there?" I hesitated. My heart raced. Who could be out there at this hour in such terrible weather? Against my better judgment, I opened the door. Standing there was a young man, soaked to the bone. His clothes clung to him, his hair plastered against his forehead, and his eyes carried a strange mix of exhaustion and desperation. "I'm sorry," he said quickly, shivering. "I didn't mean to bother you. My car broke down just a few blocks away. I've been walking in the rain for nearly an hour. Could I just rest for a moment?" Every instinct told me to be careful. The world was full of stories about strangers who pretended to be helpless, only to reveal darker motives. But something in his expression, an honesty that seemed unshaken by his misery, made me pause. "Come in," I finally whispered. The moment he stepped inside, dripping water onto my floor, the atmosphere shifted. My safe little world had been cracked open. Inside, I offered him a towel and the steaming cup of tea I had just poured. He took it with trembling hands, whispering, "Thank you." "What's your name?" I asked, my voice cautious but calm. "Armin," he replied, his eyes lifting to meet mine. They were dark but not threatening, more like a sea carrying hidden storms. I didn't think anyone would answer their door. For a moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the pounding rain outside. I wasn't sure if I had made a mistake, but something about him made me stay. The hours passed slowly. He explained that he had recently moved to the city, that he had no one to call for help, and that the storm had left him stranded. Every word he spoke seemed true, but there was still an aura of mystery around him that I couldn't ignore. As the night grew darker, I offered him the sofa to rest. He seemed surprised by my kindness, almost as though he had long stopped expecting people to be generous. "You don't know me," he said softly. "Why would you trust me like this?" I hesitated before answering. "Because sometimes life tests us. If I turned you away tonight, I would never forgive myself if something happened to you." He smiled faintly at that, and for the first time the tension between us eased. But just when I thought the night was settling, something unexpected happened. A sudden crash of glass echoed from the back of the house. My heart leapt into my throat. Armin stood instantly, his entire demeanor shifting from weary guest to someone alert and protective. "Stay here," he whispered. Before I could argue, he moved quietly toward the sound. I grabbed the phone, ready to call the police, but curiosity made me follow him. In the back room, the window had been shattered, shards of glass glittering on the floor. And just outside, in the shadows of the storm, I saw movement. Someone had tried to break in. Armin turned to me, his jaw tight. "Lock the doors. Call the police. Now." I froze for a second, then obeyed, dialing with trembling hands. The intruder must have realized we were awake, because the sound of retreating footsteps soon faded into the rain. When the police finally arrived, the house was safe again. They inspected the damage, asked a few questions, and assured us they would patrol the neighborhood through the night. But by the time they left, my life felt completely different. I looked at Armin, this stranger who had knocked on my door only hours ago, and realized that he had risked himself to protect me. He could have run away, but instead he had stayed. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice unsteady. He gave me a small smile. "I didn't plan on being here tonight, but maybe I was meant to be. Sometimes fate puts us in the right place at the right time." His words lingered long after the storm passed. In the days that followed, Armin came back, not as a stranded traveler but as a friend. We shared conversations over tea, laughter that felt like sunlight after rain, and a bond that neither of us expected. What began as a night of fear slowly grew into something deeper: trust, respect, and an unspoken connection that neither of us had the courage to name. And as I look back now, I realize something I never thought possible. Letting him into my home that night wasn't a mistake. It was the beginning of a story I'll never forget. 'Cause sometimes the greatest risks open the door to the greatest chapters of our lives.